Hi, I'm Bob Mold, and you are listening to WMNF, Tampa 88.5 FM.
The opinions presented on the Healthy Steps show are the evidence-based opinions of Dr. Fred Harvey, the callers, and his guests. These are not the opinions of the staff, the volunteers, or the board of WMNF. The information provided on the show is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease. There is no implied patient-physician relationship in these calls. The nature of the calls is educational and informational only.
Good morning to you. Yes, you, my dear listener, my dear friend who always keeps your radio tuned to WMNF Tampa, the best darn radio station in the nation and the only station that Perry White lets his reporters at the Daily Planet stream. And you can stream us as well at WMNF.org. Well, great Caesar's Ghost, there is nothing that I enjoy doing more than AMA Monday, the Ask Me Anything component of the Healthy Steps radio show. And sure as the world, to my great joy, today is Ask Me Anything Monday. So you, yes, you get to drive this show. You get to pick the direction in which we go. You know what you gotta do. If you have any medical questions or concerns, just give us a call at 813-239-9663. Irene came in today to take your call, and I do believe that Irene gets a smile bigger than the state of Texas every time that she answers the phone. So, again, that number to call is 813-239-9663. You can also send an email to dj@wmnf.org or text us at 813-433-0885. Good morning to you, Dr. Harvey. You know I'll never say ixnay to AMA Monday, and I already feel like I've said too much, so let me step humbly out of the way. And what have you got for us today, Dr. Fred?
Well, Happy New Year, everyone.
And to you too there, Doc. Happy New Year to you and a great year ahead.
Thank you. Yes, it is. 2025 is going to be a year of massive change. And as the year goes on, there are going to be some major planetary shifts that help us actually do things better. One of them is that we're going to be able to focus on our hearts more so that we can actually begin to share a bit more openly and maybe have some community building rather than tribe building. And this is really exciting. I loved your reference, though, to Perry White. I remember Steve Reeves playing Superman in those black and white TV shows, and the only person I ever heard say, "Great Caesar's Ghost," was Perry White.
Can't go wrong with an oldie but goodie, can you now?
That's for sure. So an oldie but goodie. Humans have been drinking alcohol for, I don't know, tens of thousands of years. I'm not sure when we first discovered fermented beverages, but we have an affiliation and an affinity and a desire for these things for all kinds of different reasons. And it's really interesting that this mind-altering drug is marketed as entertainment. You know, they get really upset when people talk about recreational use of cannabis, but recreational use of alcohol is a devastating and destructive thing for many people that get involved. And in fact, the most recent data is not looking good for the use of alcohol. Our Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, fortunately, he's our Surgeon General right now because this report probably would not have got out with the next administration. But this is a report that is linking alcoholic beverages to at least 7 different malignancies. Head and neck cancer, breast cancer, colon cancer, the list goes on. We already know that it causes devastation in people who have an addiction to the substance. And that is a physiologic problem, not a moral or emotional problem. Although people who get addicted to it do have emotional problems because it destroys the brain, it destroys the emotions when used in excess, and even in small amounts can upset the balance in many people. But the fierce debate going on about the risks and benefits of moderate drinking has been going on for years. We've talked about the French paradox in the past. The French eat high-fat diets, but they have relatively good cardiovascular health. However, heart disease still kills the most people in France. It's still the number 1 cause of death worldwide. And cancer is a close and growing second because of the amount of toxicity on our planet. The vast increase in alcohol consumption that's happened over the last 5 years from the pandemic times seems to have not diminished. And so we have alcohol contributing directly to 100,000 cancer cases and 20,000 cancer-related deaths every year, according to the current data. So, yeah, it's a real thing. We know that this is a toxin that we can choose to use or choose not to use. So we can affect our future health based on our decisions here. And the problems that we have of these things showing up is really bad. And you think about it, breast cancer is, it kills only 1 in 30 of people that will be killed with heart disease, but it's still a massive amount of people having this problem. And so 1 out of every 6 breast cancer deaths or cases can be attributed to alcohol consumption. But alcohol consumption also causes heart disease. Atrial fibrillation and congestive heart failure are caused by it. It may not cause arterial problems. You may not die of a heart attack, but it causes other issues. 5 years ago, they tried to tighten the guidelines. Every 5 years, the dietary guidelines change, and the scientific report that informed that writing was pretty similar. And they tried to reduce the recommended amount for a male per day to 1 drink, 14 grams of alcohol. But the industry had an apoplectic fit. They stroked out and paid every congressman a bunch of money so that they would actually not put that into writing. They paid the National Academies of Sciences to actually, actually it was the National Academy of Sciences that concurs that this is really a bad problem. But industry opposition has been fighting this for years. They terminated a federally funded Canadian study about the impact of warning labels on the alcohol that mentioned cancer, and they saw a vast decrease in alcohol use. Fortunately, education has helped, and many people think, 45% think that drinking alcohol is not very good for your physiology. 45%. I'm glad we're up to that kind of a figure. But, how did this all happen? Why is it such an issue? The alcohol, ethanol, breaks down to something called acetaldehyde. Acetaldehyde is the thing that gives you the hangover. It binds to DNA, damages DNA, causing changes in the growth of that cell, maybe even allowing the cancer to grow fast. And yes, it is. Many other countries other than America are starting to get wise to this and starting to put labels on. Canada tried, but Canada has a big alcohol industry, and they fought. And America's alcohol industry fights. But animal experiments have shown that rodents whose drinking water was spiked with either ethanol or acetaldehyde develop large numbers of tumors in their bodies. And alcohol generates oxidative stress. All toxins generate oxidative stress, and alcohol is a very specific chemical, acetaldehyde, that actually damages DNA. And it also alters the metabolism of hormones like estrogen. In fact, if a man drinks too much alcohol, his testosterone will turn to estrogen, and he eventually will develop gynecomastia because of excess estrogen. Gynecomastia is large breasts. I've seen it in many patients who drink too much alcohol after they're 60. The absolute risk of breast cancer is about 11% for those who have less than a drink a week. It goes to 13% for 1 drink a day, 15% for 2 drinks a day. In men, it's very similar. Alcohol-related cancer, 10% for those who have less than 1, 11% for one every day, 13% for 2 drinks a day. So women's hormone metabolism is different from men, and that's probably how this contributes. They have more estrogen. Estrogen converts into a carcinogen when exposed to these oxidative stresses. And so, unfortunately, we've had some real interference. Alcohol producers, because they want profit, needed to have the informed national conversation to come to a screeching halt. because none of the current or emerging science says that moderate drinking may be healthier than not drinking. The evidence base is real. And these panels, these non-governmental panels that are showing up, they're industry panels, they use really restrictive criteria and eliminate many studies. And so many of the studies of alcohol harms are removed. But there are smart countries, there are smart people, there are people having initiatives to help change the way we're looking at this. And even Ireland is going to put the cancer label on its alcohol in 2026. But yeah, I think this is a conversation that needs to be had because people, we just came out of the holidays. What did people do for New Year's? Almost everybody toasted with alcohol. I did. I had a glass of champagne, but I don't do it often. I don't try to have alcohol with every meal or anything like that. I don't think it's necessary. But we need to actually discuss this because it's a toxin. We don't talk about toxins enough. We have a lot of information that suggests there's all kinds of things going on. I just read some stuff about how teen cancers are on the rise. Well, it's not because of one single item, and it's been alluded to that something happened during the pandemic, and that's the one thing. But no, we've been subjecting our bodies to unseen toxins constantly. I talked about PFAS and PFOS last time, and those things are toxic and they cause cancer. So they're in our environment, and alcohol will prevent the metabolism of these things. So there's so many layers of toxicity we need to deal with and we need to talk about so that we can talk rationally about things. It's not black and white. Alcohol just doesn't cause a cancer today. It's a long-term process. And this show is a long-term process. And I would like to invite people to give us a call.
And I am going to second that. And I do have Solar from St. Pete and Gary, of course, one of our favorite callers from Clearwater. But I want to remind folks, if you're just tuning on in, that you are listening to the Healthy Steps Radio Show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa. And you're invited to call 813-239-9663 to get on into the conversation. That number again is 813-239-9663, or continue to send your emails to dj@wmnf.org. Let's go to Solar. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. Good morning, Solar.
Yes, good day. I was
Hello.
talking to a friend. Yes, good day. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. She said because she had a bad disc, she had 8 hours of back surgery, which she put a lot of metal in her body, and she also taken gabapentin. What kind of solution that she could have? What kind of remedy that she can have because of the issue that she's dealing with?
What kind of surgery did she have?
She had a bad disc. She had a bad
cyst.
disc, so she had to have back surgery.
Back
Like
surgery.
8 hours. Yes.
Well, that sounds really like an aggressive amount of surgery to have. So she likely needs a
No
bunch
doubt.
of rehabilitation.
And she also is taking gabapentin. What other kind of medication she can take besides gabapentin?
Well, it depends on what's going on. She had surgery. She had back surgery, and they had her on gabapentin for the back surgery. If you have the back surgery and it's successful, I would suspect that the gabapentin isn't needed anymore because the pain isn't there anymore. But what is she dealing with? What does she need help with?
Pain. She's
Pain,
dealing with
okay.
Pain.
So if she still has pain, then I would suggest that she get a full evaluation by a functional medicine doctor to help her get through the pain. There's not one line item that's going to help this.
Okay.
It's a very complex issue. Post-surgery with continued pain, she needs somebody to take a look at her who actually can help. This is not something that there's any magic bullet for.
Okay.
Best wishes for your friend.
Okie doke there, Solar. Thank you very much. And as the doc said, best wishes to your friend. Let's go to Gary from Clearwater. Happy New Year to you there, Gary.
Well, good morning, you guys. First of all, I have a question about alcohol, but I have another question that's not related to alcohol. And I was going to say, why must you be 18 to fight a war, to 21 to buy a beer? I don't get it. Anyway.
That's because we have a rather twisted government that uses weird ideas to make laws. I can't see any reason why somebody who could give his life for the country couldn't have a beer. That's just bizarre. But I also understand that beer is destructive. An 18-year-old shouldn't be able to access beer. He also shouldn't be sent to war. War is wrong, period. So why don't we stop war, and then we won't have to actually worry about this issue?
Yeah. And my question is that I have peripheral neuropathy. And a walker is a walker. Every day I go to the gym and I ride a recumbent bike. For those of you who don't know, recumbent bike has the pedals in front of you, not below you. And I was wondering, I think I burn like 150 calories a day doing that. And I just need your advice. Am I doing the right thing?
Yes, exercising every day is the right thing. So no matter what way you get it, I would say keep doing it. I think that's wonderful, Gary. You really do try to promote your own health. You take those healthy steps. We all need to.
Yeah, and thank you. I need that advice to keep going and doing the right thing. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you there, Gary. And since we've gone dark in here, I want to remind folks this is the Healthy Steps Radio Show with Dr. Fred Harvey on WMNF Tampa. And you are invited to participate by giving us a call at 813-239-9663. Again, the number is 813-239-9663. Irene will gladly take your call and put you first in the queue. Also, you can send us an email at dj@wmnf.org. What have you got for us, Doctor?
Well, let's see. Bubba asks, is beer as bad for you as liquor? I usually drink one beer an evening and rarely drink strong stuff. Well, here's a way to think about that. Alcohol is alcohol. There are different vehicles for ingesting alcohol. So 12 ounces of beer, usually it's 5% beer, 5% alcohol. 12 ounces of beer is going to be your 0.6 ounces or 14 grams. Malt liquor usually has a higher alcohol content, like 7%, so it maybe even 9%. So 8 to 10 ounces of malt liquor or any of these craft beers that have a higher alcohol content would be an equivalent to the same amount. And then 5 ounces of wine. Generally, wine is around 12%, 13%, 11%, somewhere in that range. And so 5 ounces of wine is going to be an equivalent. And then 1.5 ounces, or what's called a shot, of 80 proof distilled spirits. It'll be 1 ounce of 100 proof distilled spirits. And that 150 proof that's out there, yes, you get about 3/4 of an ounce. And the grain, you get about a half ounce. Because the grain's about 95% alcohol, almost 99% in some cases. The issue is that no matter what you're drinking alcohol. So those are the equivalents. And one a day maximum for men kind of is the cutoff for where you're going to start rapidly increasing the amount of other cancers. But again, you remember, you're going to be increasing it by 1% or 2%. So that 1% is really important if you get it, but not if you don't. It's a really small increase. So everybody has to make a decision, a choice on their own about how much risk they're willing to increase for their vices. That's really what it boils down to. If you like this, if you desire this, it could cause this, make your choice. The cancers that are associated with drinking alcohol are mouth, throat, esophagus, liver, larynx, the voice box, breast, and colon and rectum. Doesn't appear for some reason that prostate cancer is involved here. And so we have, some real interesting effects that the alcohol has on the body that also continues this thought of how the metabolism, oxidative stress, breaking down the ethanol into acetaldehyde, what it does by generating reactive oxygen species. These are the oxidative stress, the free radicals that damage DNA, proteins, fats, causing rancid fat, rancid DNA, disformed proteins that don't do their job, enzymes that don't work through oxidation. But it also impairs the body's ability to break down and absorb a variety of nutrients that can be associated with cancer risk. So vitamin A, nutrients in the vitamin B complex, folate, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E, the carotenoids that are associated with vitamin A, increasing blood levels of estrogen. Estrogen then subjected to oxidative stress, which turns estrogen into something called a quinolated estrogen, which is an intercalating agent. An intercalating agent is something that slips into your DNA and causes a misread, resulting in mutation and cancer. But alcoholic beverages also contain a variety of carcinogenic contaminants. You may really wonder what's coming out in that swill that you're drinking, because in that process, nitrosamines, asbestos fibers, phenols, and hydrocarbons are showing up. Poison, pesticides, herbicides, things like that. So this is a conversation that we as a people need to have with ourselves and with our elected officials, because I don't think they're going to be doing a lot. And Bubba asked, do you think RFK is going to put warning labels on alcohol? I don't know what RFK is going to do. It's going to be interesting to watch because he's completely non-medical. He does have a very strong opinion about petrochemical poisons. And so I'm hoping that since alcohol is a poison, maybe it's not a petrochemical, but it's a poison, maybe he'll be able to actually wrap his head around go ahead and putting warning labels on things. So I think we have a caller.
Indeed we do. I've got Lee from Ruskin on the line. Good morning, Lee.
Hello.
Hi, Lee. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. How you doing, Doc?
I'm doing very well, thank you. What do you got for us today?
I have high blood sugar. I take medication for years. But I see on TV these commercials about this beet stuff, beet tablets, beet chews. What's your opinion of that?
Well, blood pressure is a complex issue. It can be related to your adrenals, your blood vessels, toxicity, all kinds of things. And so one of the thoughts is that the arteries get tight, and there are chemicals that help the arteries stay tight or loosen up. And one of the loosening agents is called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide causes dilation of your blood vessels. And beets contain something called arginine. And arginine converts into nitric oxide. And so if you eat beets, you might actually get better nitric oxide and thus more supple arteries and possibly lowered blood pressure. There is no Western medicine treatment thinking here. So a beet is not going to treat your blood pressure. However, if you do a lot of right things, living right, exercising well, drinking lots of water, eliminating over an ounce of alcohol a day, eliminating extra salt, processed foods, you'll find that your blood pressure is going to achieve a better level. When you add medication to that, because you haven't achieved that level, you're actually putting it into a place where you're safer, but you still have a primary problem. Eating beets might help that primary problem, but it really helps to actually do that with a bigger program that approaches your blood pressure from a very broad, holistic pattern.
Yeah, I have mine is that the blood vessels shrinking up and tightening up, as you said. Now, every morning I drink, I'm fairly healthy. I'm 80 years old, but I'm pretty good shape. And every morning I drink a kale, apple, cinnamon. Now, I was putting beets in it. And then beets turned to sugar. So then I got scared and quit that. Would you recommend me go back to that, you think?
Well, you could take one of those tablets. There's a bunch of them out there that have beet extract in it, or you could eat the beets. Beet greens also have it, so there's less of the sugar in the beet greens, but there's still a lot of the same substance that helps. And so both are valid ways of getting it. And beets, when you eat root vegetables like beets and carrots, yes, the starch does turn to sugar, but the nature of the food is such that it turns to sugar slowly. So if you eat that with other things, you're not going to be getting any sugar damage really from eating beetroot.
Yeah. Well, my blood pressure is being very well controlled. I've had it for since I was like 18 years old, and I'm 80 now.
Wow.
But my blood pressure's been very well controlled with statins, medication, that kind of stuff.
Good.
I mean, it's like 180 again. I mean, 180 over 120, something like that. It's always been, that ain't right, is it?
No, more like 120 over 80.
There you go. Now, I just let the doctor, it was 174 over like 70 something. So
that's high.
I don't think I need the beats, do you?
Well, if it's 174 over 74 or something, yeah, that top number is very high.
Now, I got it wrong. Something's wrong there. The doctor said it was very good.
Okay, yeah, then you may not need it, but beets are good, and you may be able to eliminate your blood pressure medicine if you actually change your diet. I'm not telling you to stop it. I'm just saying that's the way I help people reduce the amount of medication they take by changing what they're eating, what they're doing in exercise, etc.
I exercise faithfully. I mean, I got one of those total gyms.
Yeah.
I hit that thing every morning. Then I ride my bike probably 20 miles a week now. I was up to about 40, now I cut back to 20.
That's excellent.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, do you have anybody on the line there?
Was just going to say that I just got Jack from Dover, but I'm going to, excuse me a second.
No problem.
Remind folks that you are listening to the Healthy Steps Radio Show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa. We want you to give us a call at 813-239-9663. If you dial that number, you can participate in the Healthy Steps Radio Show with your questions or medical concerns. Again, the number is 813-239-9663. And please continue to send your emails to dj@wmnf.org. Let's get over here to Jack. Good morning to you, Jack.
Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Harvey.
Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Good. I was wondering, do you have any thoughts on a medication called rosuvastatin?
Yeah, rosuvastatin is one of the most recently developed statin drugs for inhibiting HMG-CoA reductase, the enzyme that helps produce cholesterol.
Okay. I have been taking for, I don't know.
You're breaking up there, sir. I'm not hearing anything.
Jack, we're going to give you another second to come on in, or we're going to go on back to the show itself. Jack?
Okay. Yes, hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, I was just going to say that I've just started taking that recently, and
Yes.
I've been taking amlodipine and lisinopril for forever, probably since 2005, so 20
Okay.
years. And I don't know, it seems to be making a big difference, especially in my weight loss. So I was wondering if you could explain why, or if it is having any effect on my weight loss.
Actually, that's interesting. You are actually losing more weight on the rosuvastatin?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have been.
That's something I haven't read about, and I haven't seen it in my clinical practice, but these are physiologically altering medications. You may be actually experiencing that as a result of medication.
Okay. But the cholesterol, just having it help with my lab results on my cholesterol, that's a benefit?
It is. It also reduces C-reactive protein, something associated with risk events like cardiovascular events and cancer. So how high was your cholesterol when they put you on this?
She said I was borderline of being diabetic.
Oh, well, rosuvastatin, after 5 years, if you don't change the diet to treat the cholesterol, that'll cause diabetes. About a 50% increased risk of diabetes in people that take statins over 5 years. So my thought is, what was your actual cholesterol level?
That I couldn't answer. I'm sorry, I don't know that result.
Yeah, I think this deserves a little bit deeper look, because if you're in the pre-diabetes range, that will actually increase your cholesterol. And statins aren't a treatment for pre-diabetes. They're actually a treatment for high cholesterol and inflammation. So you might want to actually rethink this and treat the pre-diabetes so that the cholesterol gets better without having to take a statin.
Well, I mean, she did change my diet, so I mean, that might have a reason, that might be part of the reason why I'm doing, weight loss. I cut out, the cookies at night and the soda and the cookies during the daytime. I've switched over.
Good. Well, you're way ahead of the pack, because most people don't bother changing and they just take the pill and continue the regular diet. So it sounds to me like if you've made that much of a change in your diet and you've lost weight, you probably don't even need the statin drug. It might be worthwhile to see what your body has done to shift with your own diet. But I would discuss that with the doctor and say, look, I mean, I'm losing all this weight. Do I really need a statin? How high was my cholesterol anyway?
Okay. Yeah, I can ask her, and I usually get, lab tests about every 6 months. So, and then she adjusts my medications, what, adds one or takes one away. So, I don't know. I feel better. I mean, I don't feel like the rush that I used to feel, the blood pressure rush, like my heart was straining, It feels, it's just more relaxed now. And
that has nothing to do with the statin. That has to do with your better diet. Statins don't make you feel better. There's no symptomatic change with a statin ever in anybody that I've ever treated.
Now, I've also heard that, beer can actually give you a good cholesterol that counterbalances the bad cholesterol. Is that true or not?
No. That was a nice marketing ploy that somebody threw at you.
Okay. Hi, Dr. Harvey. Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed your show.
I'm glad to be here for you. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Thank you there, Jack, and we appreciate you listening and calling on in. Let's go to Veronica in St. Pete. Good morning, Veronica.
Hello, good morning.
Hi there.
I've got a question. I recently got started on metformin 500 milligram, the slow release, to help to control a pre-diabetic status that I have been in for quite a few years.
Yes.
Wherein I passed the fasting, but the A1C seemed to be stuck at 6.0, 6.1. And so I'm trying the metformin. How does the metformin work?
It works by increasing your insulin sensitivity. Type 2 diabetes and pre-diabetes in the physiology is a state where your body's not really interested in listening to the insulin, so it doesn't store the sugar away. A question: do you walk 20 to 30 minutes daily?
I walk, but I mostly get my aerobics from Zumba or other gym exercise. Yeah.
So you do that daily?
No, at least 4 or 5 times a week. Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. Most people only do Zumba once or twice. And then on the other days you walk?
No, I just do yard work. I mow, edge, that kind of thing.
Okay, so you're busy the other 2 days doing actually active work too.
Yes.
Okay. And have they put you on a somewhat carbohydrate restricted diet?
That I'm working on, yes.
Good.
Especially for the last, since I started on the metformin.
Good. So the metformin helps you actually metabolize the sugar better. It's a relatively low adverse consequence medication, so it may just help you achieve what it is that you're trying to do here.
Okay, I've got a concern since I started using it. Does it increase your appetite?
Not that I have ever read.
Okay, all right. I'm pleased to know that, because that's my biggest concern. I seem to have increased appetite since I've been on it. You
might want to add some more protein and fat to your diet. and eliminate some of the carbs.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Have a great year.
The previous caller, I'd answered some of my question regarding the statin and the pre-diabetic state. Yes.
Very good.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you there, Veronica. And yes, I do have Carrie from St. Pete in the line, but I don't want her to be sitting in the queue so lonely. I want to remind folks that you are listening to the Healthy Steps Radio Show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa, and you can join the queue as well. Just give us a call at 813-239-9663, and we'll get you an opportunity to express your medical questions and concerns. Again, that number is 813-239-9663. You can also continue sending your emails to dj@wmnf.org. Good morning to you, Carrie.
Hello, good morning.
Hi.
I have a question for you about knee replacement, full knee replacement surgery. I had my right knee replaced 10 weeks ago today. And to say I'm disappointed is an understatement. I'm 65 years old. I'm in great shape physically and mentally. Exercise every day prior to this, and just had bone-on-bone knee issues. And finally, did the shots and finally said, that's it. I've got to buck up and do the surgery. And everybody I talked to prior, I didn't do enough research, and shame on me, but they were like, you're going to do great. You're going to be fine. No problem. I'm doing PT twice a week. I'm getting deep tissue massage out of my own pocket every other week. I'm walking. I'm trying my best, but I'm extremely frustrated with how slow it's taking. Am I normal?
Well, I don't do the surgeries, but everyone that I have had go through total knee replacement has had a better result than what you're describing. Most people do pretty well and get walking soon thereafter. So there could be something going on there that has increased your inflammation. It's quite possible that some of the muscles aren't working well. And you might look at a muscle activation technique therapist instead of a massage this next time to see if maybe working on reactivating some of the muscles that were deactivated by the surgery and by the arthritis process might actually help you improve faster.
Interesting. Because I am noticing that my muscles ache different places all the time. It's like, I understand I'm building back, the glutes and the thigh muscles and all of that, but then all of a sudden the muscle will pop out over to the right of my knee and ache like crazy for a couple days. And maybe I'm just being impatient, but I just thought I'd be doing a lot better than I am.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're being impatient. I think that there are some things going on there. Like you described that muscle suddenly popping out. That sounds like a spasm. And that would indicate to me that there's a muscle on the opposing side of that one that is inactivated. And muscle activation technique actually evaluates those inactivities and helps them get back on so you have more balanced movement around a joint.
That's really cool. How do I find something like that?
Look up muscle activation technique. There's a website. There's only one website that's real. It's out of Colorado, I believe. The guy that developed it is Greg Roscoff, and he has a practitioner finder. There's a bunch in the Tampa Bay and Sarasota area.
Great. Okay, I will look into that.
Yes, best wishes on that. And you might want to actually take some, make sure that you're getting a good amount of fish oil, curcumin, or turmeric extract. Things like that can help overall inflammation and calm it down. Enzymes, proteolytic enzymes, the one I use is called proteozyme. It really helps to chew up some of the nasty leftover, dead cells and inflammatory proteins and things that would be hanging around in the area.
Okay, that's cool. Tell me again the name of the muscle technique. I'm writing it down.
Muscle activation technique.
Muscle activation. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too. Have a good year.
All righty, I've got Annie from Gulfport on the line. Good morning, Annie.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Annie. What you got for us today?
Well, I was just wondering, you were talking about alcohol, and I know that humans have been drinking alcohol from the dawn of the dawn of time.
Indeed.
I wondered, and I know animals also recently they've found that a lot of animals eat fermented berries when they get fermented and get crazy and so forth. So I'm wondering, what's the difference between some sort of natural alcohol that they would have made 3,000 or, ancient times, and what's being done today? It seems to me that a little fermented cider probably would not be nearly as dangerous as some of the high-powered liquors that how are they made? What kind of chemicals are in them, and how do they make them, and all of that? I think that may be a big difference, and I'd just like to hear your opinion.
Very good. I don't think there is a big difference. I think alcohol is alcohol, and even the super-duper processed ones, 5 times distilled vodka, that's only going to have alcohol in it. Basically, you're drinking pure alcohol diluted with some spring water when you're drinking vodka. The distillation process removes almost all the other chemicals except for ethanol. And so if you're drinking distilled spirits, you're drinking ethanol. You may, if you throw your ethanol into an oak cask that's been charred on the inside, you're going to have the chemicals coming from the oak, from the char. So there's going to be all these flavors going into it, which is how we end up with whiskey, the brown colored stuff, because it's leaching these chemicals out of the oak cask as it ages. You don't age vodka; it stays in a metal cask. But our ancestors would. One of the reasons we drank alcohol is that basically it preserved the grain from the harvest rather than letting it rot or get eaten by the rats. Preserved fermented grain is drinkable and edible. It has calories. It does get you a little high, but even back then, the concentration of the alcohol wasn't all distilled out. It was like really low concentration, 2-3%, maybe 4%. Unless they really did let it ferment a long time. Wines began to get more alcohol in them. But early on, it was basically preserved food. So we had to eat it because it was all we had. And the concentrations were lower. And we didn't live in the lap of luxury where you can go down to a bar and drink 27 ounces of alcohol in one freaking night. We just didn't have this. We live in a weird world of extra luxury where we can actually consume excessive amounts of anything we want. And that's really the issue, the excess.
Yeah, I agree. But I was just thinking some of the old, cavemen sitting around a campfire sipping on a fermented apple drink or something. It's probably not nearly as dangerous as
it's just as dangerous. There's no difference. It's alcohol.
Alcohol. So even cider, even if you had some cider, I don't drink personally, but
yeah, even if you have some cider, it's still alcohol.
Do it.
Ethanol. Ethanol is the chemical that is causing the problem. So no matter what form you deliver it in, ethanol is the toxin.
Why do you think animals continue to eat fermented berries and get...
Because they're tasty and they like to get drunk.
Maybe that's the answer for everybody.
Seriously, that's it. We're a bunch of bonobos and great apes that just love to eat fermented grapes.
Yeah, I read that. Yes, exactly. And I've seen birds in my backyard go after cherry laurel berries and fall.
Oh yeah,
they fall out of the tree.
So true.
All right. Well, thank you for your opinion. I guess the human race will just kind of keep drinking some sort of alcohol without...
We will. We will.
And I certainly hope that if you had a little glass of cider sometime, it's not going to kill somebody.
No, that's the whole thing. It doesn't at the time. It's like the more you do over a longer period of time, you increase your risk for certain things. And so, yeah, a glass of alcohol here and there, a little bit of cider now and then, it's not a horrendous thing. But when you do it every day and you do more than a couple ounces every day, you're basically pushing yourself into a toxic state.
Of course, if you ate hamburgers 2 or 3 every day, you'd be in a fine state as well.
Exactly.
Anything to excess is excess. All right. Thank you, Dr. Harvey. I appreciate your show. You have a good day.
You're so welcome. Thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
And thank you there, Annie. I know we're down to about the last 10 minutes, so maybe we'll focus on trying to get the last one or two callers on in here. You are listening to the Healthy Steps radio show here on WMNF Tampa, and you are fully invited to join the conversation by calling 813-239-9663. Irene's waiting for you as well as everyone else. Give us a call at 813-239-9663. She's the greatest for getting you into the conversation. Also, continue sending your emails to dj@wmnf.org. What have you got for us there, Doctor, in the email world?
Well, Bob in Largo says that after back surgery, his doctor told him to follow the rehab program and not to complain for a year. I say that sounds like a typical surgeon. Where's the compassion? But in reality, back surgery does some major damage and should be avoided at all costs by any people that can think about doing anything except for back surgery. And I know I can probably get a lot of angry emails based on that, but I can tell you from my personal experience, when my right leg was paralyzed in 1994 and I couldn't get out of bed because the disc had sheared off and landed on my right L5 S1 nerve root and caused my right leg to completely be paralyzed. I did not do surgery because I know what happens after surgery. Always another surgery. And so what I did was find chiropractors and acupuncturists, massage therapists and yogi therapists, meditation, nutrition, acupuncture, everything I could think of, I worked on. And I healed my back. In 3 months, the paralysis was gone. In 6 months, the pain was gone. And I've not had a problem since 1994, and I don't plan to have one. And I recommend that anybody who has the suggestion of chronic back pain, unless it is actually documented spinal stenosis, they want to try and avoid surgery at all costs until there's no possible other way. Find a functional medicine doctor, find a muscle activation technique specialist, find somebody to help you with the back pain. And pick up a book by John Sarno. Dr. John Sarno wrote a book about back pain, and he has some very good recommendations in there about the origins of back pain, and many of them are emotional. Anger and back pain go hand in hand. And so I promote the advice that if you have back pain after back surgery, there's a problem here because the back surgery is supposed to relieve the back pain. And you need to do physical therapy, rehabilitation before you get back surgery because much of back pain is also caused by weak back muscles. So why get surgery on weak back muscles? Do the work and see how you can improve. This one from, looks like it is anonymous. How does sugar from cane or alcohol destroy the liver? Well, sugar from cane or alcohol doesn't destroy the liver, but excessive use of sugar can result in insulin resistance. Insulin resistance can result in excessive storage of triglycerides. Triglycerides are the components that make your liver fatty, which causes fatty liver disease and then cirrhosis. So over a long haul, that could happen. And then we already discussed alcohol. Alcohol metabolizes into acetaldehyde. Acetaldehyde is a toxin that kills cells. So it is alcohol as a solvent that directly irritates and kills some cells, but then it metabolizes into something else called acetaldehyde that also then kills the liver. So yeah, there's a couple layers of stuff here that work on it. Here's one from David Bryant. He asks, the question about beets reminded me of a great Tom Robbins novel, Jitterbug Perfume, in which the main character lives for an extraordinary long time because he only eats beets. I love it. Great book. I'm not sure I could live just on beets, but yeah, if you're going to eat phytochemicals all day long, plants, you're going to live very well. Let's see. Here's one. Is there ethanol in wine? Pete asks. Yes. I went through that little list earlier. Alcohol is alcohol. Ethanol is present in beer, in malt liquor, in White Claw, and all those other bubbly vodka drinks. Every type of distilled alcohol is alcohol. Every wine has alcohol. Yes. And then Marianne mentions that there are a bunch of other alcohols that are an issue today in processed foods. And she says, on this subject, what about fake sugar alcohols like erythritol? I mostly use stevia, but I also eat some products with fake sugars. Are they just as bad as liquor alcohols? In fact, they might actually be worse because we think of them with less toxicity because they're a little sweet and they don't seem to cause problems. However, they disrupt the intestinal microbiome, increase inflammation. They all may be associated with heart disease and inflammation associated with the heart disease, autoimmune disease, and other gut-related problems. And if you do too much of them, they cause a laxative effect. And so I was really annoyed because I use some natural sweeteners that are non-nutritive, like monk fruit and stevia. Monk fruit is my preferred one because it has less of an aftertaste. And there's a company that makes monk fruit in a powder, and they label it as monk fruit, but they put in fine print way at the bottom so you don't notice it. And I bought the bag. It has erythritol. And in fact, when you flip the bag around, the back label, and I forgot to read the back label when I brought this home, number one ingredient is erythritol, second ingredient is monk fruit. I don't want to eat erythritol. I bought a bag of monk fruit, and I don't want to eat those sugar alcohols because they are causing problems. We don't need those problems. Let's see. Hey, I quit drinking 4 years ago and changed my life for the better in every single way. And now you're telling me there's more? As you dive into this, please don't hesitate to mention, if you care to, for folks that have trouble stopping the drink, there are free resources out there like 12-step programs that have helped millions over half a century. Absolutely. These are great programs. They really help people. And I think that is a very, very valuable way to look at it. We really need to help people and support people. And we also have to remember, we have to support people who have an addiction to alcohol. This is not a moral problem. This is a physiologic problem. So I think it's time for society to cut the moral judgment of people with addiction, people with alcoholism. An addicted gambler is the same thing. Addiction is an emotional problem, and it's not someone that someone makes a choice to do. They are actually short-circuiting the choice, and they're stuck. There's nothing immoral about these problems. They are physiologic and emotional problems, and we need to be there to support these people. Missed a bit of the show, but I was wondering if NA beer is okay, non-alcohol beer. So if you're not triggered by the NA beer, there are fermentation products that might trigger some people in there. But you might actually get triggered by kombucha. Most people don't realize that kombucha has alcohol in it. It's fermented. They just stop the fermentation process early, and so people still get exposed to alcohol. So think about that next time you go for your draft kombucha. Hey, this has been a wonderful first show of the year. I'm really excited, and thank you for all your great input. Thanks, Bill, for running the boards, and thank you, Irene, for answering all the phone calls. I'll be back next week with another wonderful AMA show.
I have no doubt in that, Doctor. You always bring us a great episode, a very illuminating Healthy Steps radio show here on WMNF Tampa. And until next Monday, as promised, I want to thank you, Dr. Fred, and Irene, and all of our participants and listeners for having a wonderful show today. As always, I cannot thank Irene enough for handling the phones. To everyone out there, take care, stay healthy. Y'all are the greatest. You have been listening to the Healthy Steps radio show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa. Coming on up next is 5 minutes of NPR headline news, followed by the Sustainable Living Show, hosted by the sagacious Tanya Vidovic. Until next Monday at 10 a.m., thank you for supporting and listening to the Healthy Steps radio show with Dr. Fred Harvey, right here on WMNF Tampa, your community conscious radio station. Stay safe, stay thoughtful, and know that you are loved.